Hi soulmates, welcome to the third part of the funnel corset tutorial. In this video, I'll guide you through creating the Bustier section and show you how to perfectly attach it to the funnel corset we assembled in the last tutorial. So let's get started. So guys, this is the second section of the video for the funnel corset with a separate bustier, and this is going to be for the bustier part. So I use the bustier pattern to cut out these pieces for the main fabric and also for the lining. So what you need to do is place your pattern on your fabric and then cut with half an inch seam allowance all around it. Then next I added interfacing to my main fabric and also on my lining. Then for my lining pieces, I also added collar stay, which I cut the exact shape of the pattern paper. So on the lining part, I'll be doing bust caging. So that's the reason why I added collar stay to it, to give it more structure. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join my bustier patterns together. So I first of all pin the two center fronts and then I'll be stitching with half an inch. So next I'll be joining the side part like so. So you can start sewing from the bottom with half an inch, following the shape of the curve. So guys, after doing that, I noticed that one of the pieces was having excess, so I trimmed out the excess. So the next thing I'll be doing is to stitch on my lining the same way, and then I'll iron the center part straight. Then on the side part, where I have the curve, I first of all notched it. Then I'll take it over to my ironing table and then use my breast ball for that side part. So guys, this is how the lining looks after joining, and then I iron the seams open like I said I would. So this is how the main fabric also looks. So I'll keep the main fabric aside. Now let's work on the bust caging. So first of all, before going ahead to do the bust caging, I want to first of all trim the excess of the fabric that I have on the lining. So after doing that, next thing I'll be doing now is to mark the lines I want to sew on for my bust caging. So first of all, I'll be drawing the top line and the bottom line because your boning is not going to get to the end. So I went ahead to mark half an inch from the top to draw out the curve line that I have there. And then I also did the same thing for the under bust area. So the next thing I want to do now is to mark the straight lines, which is the vertical lines that I'll be sewing my boning on the bustier. So after marking all the lines, I'll go ahead to stitch my boning on the straight lines that I marked. So you can sew as many bones as you want. So guys, after doing that, I'll go ahead now to mark the horizontal lines that I will be sewing on for my bust caging. So I'm just going to sew just one line. So if you want to see a detailed tutorial on bust caging, I have a video specifically for bust caging for over bust corset, and then I'll link the video on the description box below. So after rolling the horizontal line, I use my boning to measure up the line to know the length of the boning I need. So after getting the length, I'll go ahead now to stitch down the boning on that horizontal line. So guys, as you can see, this is how the boning looks so far. So the next thing I want to do now is to do my underbust boning. So you're going to measure what you have on the underbust, use your boning to measure it. Then you're also going to add excess. So the reason for adding this excess is because I want to curve my boning. So what I went ahead to do was to cut the boning like so to bring out the springs. So after doing that, you're going to use a plier to hold two spring, and then you're going to be drawing the spring out. As you're drawing it out, your boning will be curving. So you can actually sew your bone on the underbust without having to curve it, but it takes a lot of time and stress, and if you're not too good at bending or curving your boning, it might be very stressful. So that is the reason why I just prefer this method of curving the bone down. Then you can just go ahead to top stitch on your curve line. So guys, in case you don't quite get or understand how to curve your bone like this, then you should watch the bust caging tutorial. I explain in detail how to curve your bone. So then after curving my boning like so, I'll measure the length of the boning that I need for the underbust. So guys, I went ahead to top stitch the boning on the underbust line, and this is what I have it looking like. So the last step now is to sew the boning for the sweetheart neckline. So although this top part is curved, I will not be curving my boning for that part. I'll just measure the bone that I need straight like so. I'll be sewing on one side first because of the V shape that we have on the middle. So I will sew the boning on one side, then sew another one on the other side. So at this point, when you're sewing, you're going to be bending your boning to follow the shape of the sweetheart neckline. You're going to be curving your boning very well. So guys, after sewing the bust caging, this is how it looks like. You can see how neat it looks, and it is already caging like this. So I'll take it over to my ironing table and then iron it properly using my bust arm. So this is how you're going to turn it over like this and iron. So guys, after ironing, this is how it looks like. You know that my fabric is going to be on top of this caged part like this. But first of all, we need to flesh the bust caging part. So to do the fleshing, you'll be needing a fiber. So guys, I have this fiber that I cut out here that I'm going to use to flesh the bust caging part. So I'll just be making use of the whole fiber like this, the way it is thick. So what I'll be doing now is to pin the fiber to my bust caging like so. You're going to pin it, make sure that it covers the bust caging part very well. So guys, after pinning it like so, you're going to be top stitching on the top line. You're just going to top stitch all around on the sweetheart neckline and on the under bust. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew that off camera. You can see that I stitched down the fiber to the main fabric. So the next thing I'm doing now is to trim the excess of the fiber that is left. So after trimming, you're going to have it looking like this. So I'll take it over to iron very well using my bust arm. So after ironing, next thing is to turn the neckline. So you're going to place the main fabric front side facing front side of the lining part like so. Then you're going to pin the neckline. So after pinning it like so, I'll be turning the neckline of the bustier part. So I'll be sewing along with my hemming gum so it will be easy for me to iron. So guys, after sewing with my half-inch seam, I went ahead to notch all the lines. Then I will turn it over to the good side, and then I'll be top stitching on the lining parts. So the lining part, which is the bust caging part, is the part that will be top stitching. You're going to push the rough edge to the lining part and then top stitch on top of it. So this part can be very hard to do because of the bust caging, but just take your time. So guys, after top stitching, I'll turn it over to the good side. Then I will take it over to iron the sweetheart neckline very well. So you're going to make sure that the lining and the main fabric is equal on the bottom. So what you're going to do is you can either use a bias to sew that bottom part to make it neat, or you can fold the lining and then fold the main fabric and top stitch together. So do whichever one you find easy to do. So this is it for the bustier part. You can see how cute and how structured it is. Next, we're going to be fixing to the funnel corset. So guys, before we move on to attaching the bustier to the funnel corset, I will start by using the material to bias the bottom edge of the bustier for a neat and clean finish. Note that the bias material is cut straight, just like how I encase the top and bottom edges of the funnel corset. So after encasing the bottom with the bias, I went ahead to just use my pin to hold it down. Then I'll take it over to my sewing machine and top stitch from the inside so that the stitch is going to appear on the outside. So this is the finished look. Now let's move on to the next part. Moving on to the next part, which is attaching the bustier to the funnel corset. So first of all, I went ahead to iron the funnel corset to make it relaxed and easy to work with. Then you're going to turn the corset to the wrong side and use the pattern drafting video as a guideline. If you haven't watched it yet, check the description for the links of both parts, the cutting and the sewing tutorial. Next, you're going to measure the underbust line by marking your nipple point on the top of the funnel corset, 10.5 inch in this case for myself. So I'll measure the underbust line on both sides of the funnel corset and then I'll just rule a straight line. Now place the bustier underbust line on the marked line on the funnel corset and secure it with the pins. So I'll be placing the center part on the middle part of the funnel corset like so. This part may feel stressful, but take your time to ensure that you do it right. So after pinning the underbust, the other sides of the funnel corset is just going to sit right on the bustier like this. So you're also going to use your pin to just hold it down. Then after doing that, you're going to measure, take away your neckline, which is your cleavage line, and measure your nipple points to your underbust to ensure that it is correct on both sides of the bustier. Next, you're going to use a curved needle and thread to tack the bustier to the corset. Make sure that the stitches are light and neat to avoid roughness on the front of the corset. If your funnel corset includes a lining, tack the bustier to the lining instead so the stitches remain invisible on the front. Let me take you back to a time when love was as precious as diamonds, where if you search you would find it. After tacking, you can cover the front with lace or beads for a polished look. And that's it for attaching the bustier to the funnel corset. I hope you find this tutorial helpful and easy to follow. Don't forget to take your time with each step to achieve a clean and neat finish. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up, share with your soulmates, and subscribe for more tutorials. I would love to see your own creations, so feel free to tag me on social media. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.